We moved to Canada in 2025 and left after just 3 months. And no, not for the reasons you probably think. It wasn't because Canada is bad. It wasn't because we didn't like it. And it definitely wasn't because we gave up. But I felt like I failed. And I want to tell you the real reason why we left. When we moved, I genuinely believed this was it. New country, new start, new life. I thought in a few months everything would fall into place. In my head, it was simple. 2 or 3 months and my husband will get his spousal sponsorship visa and we will all reunite in Canada. But that's not what happened. So we landed in Toronto and decided to stay at my uncle's place because there's no other relatives that I have in Canada, even though our original plan is to move to Calgary. So for a lot of reasons, we decided that me and my son are going to stay in Toronto for a while until my husband will get his spousal sponsorship. So after 3 months in Toronto, there were no realistic signs that my husband will get his spousal sponsorship really soon. So in my head, I thought that 2 or 3 more months, as I said, and then my husband will come back. And flying from Toronto all the way to another continent, to Armenia, cost a lot of money. So I thought that it's not very convenient to spend that much money to fly all the way to Armenia and then in a couple of months come back and spend twice the amount. But the truth was that at that time, I still didn't have a Canadian job. And that meant that I couldn't rent my own place. And as much as we were really grateful to stay at my uncle's place, it wasn't like our home. And we couldn't build our routine with my son, which was getting quite difficult for both my son and I and my uncle's family as well. Because obviously, if you're a guest and you stay a week or maybe even for 2 weeks, it's okay. But when it gets to the point of 3 months, it's getting quite uncomfortable for everyone in the house, which I understand. And so my husband and I were debating either I should rent a place as cheap as I could, or I should go back all the way to Armenia. The problem with renting was also that at that time I didn't have any credit score. And as you know, in Canada and basically in all North America, there's no way you will rent a place without a credit score, without a good credit score. And I didn't have a one at all. And so that was first reason that I couldn't find any rent. I had multiple options, but at the end, it was 1 week before the end of May. All those two options let me know that unfortunately, there's no way I could rent the place because their plans have changed. And so that was a big thing, even though I could have rent an Airbnb for a short time before I find a rent, but it would get much and much more difficult. And one big thing that also made us come back to Armenia was that it was getting very difficult emotionally for my family, especially my son, for not seeing his father for 3 months. It was his first time not seeing him for such a long time. It was actually the first time for me as well, not seeing my husband. And to be honest with you, leaving felt like quitting. I felt like I finally made that move and now I'm going 100 steps back. And I really had a fear that once I go back to my homeland, Armenia, it would took so much time to get back to Canada. I also had a fear that I'm not going to come back because, as you may or may not know, I left Canada 23 years ago, already 24 years ago when I was a child. And I really, really missed Canada and always dreamt to come back. And so this time, moving from Canada again felt so scary to me. And also, I knew that people would talk like, see, I told you it wouldn't work. Like, why would you spend so much time, money, and energy on this? Like, just forget about Canada. And also, if someone would told me in May 2025 that almost a year later you're still going to be in Armenia, I would never believe them, because I was debating with my uncle that, like, guys, listen, I know for a fact that it's going to take another like month or two for my husband to get his visa. And they were telling me, Nelly, realistically, it will take you at least until like September, November of 2025 for your husband to get his visa. And I didn't want to believe in that. But the reality is, it's March 2nd, 2026, and we are still stuck in Armenia waiting for my husband's visa. And so it came the time that we should make our decision. And we decided that the best thing for our family would be for me and my son to go back to Armenia and not be separated, and wait for my husband's visa altogether and just work at whatever we could being here. In my case, I'm trying to apply for Canada jobs because I'm a Canadian citizen and I'm authorized to work in Canada. I'm trying to find remote jobs so that my Canadian work experience can start even now, being away from Canada. So as soon as I get to Canada, I can just go and find a better job. And to be honest, I realized that sometimes leaving doesn't mean failure, it means strategy. Because in my head, I thought that success means pushing no matter what. And now I know that success means knowing when to pause. Canada is, of course, still in our plans. It's basically our number one top priority. But now we're going to move smarter, not just emotionally. Even though we moved to Canada not because it was emotional, but because IRCC made us do that, because I forgot to mention why we moved to Canada in first place with my son without my husband is because we received a message from IRCC on January 2025 saying that they don't have enough proof that we are indeed planning to move to Canada, because all our documents that we applied show them that we have roots here in Armenia and they don't see any connection with Canada. And the only option to prove them our intentions to move was for my son and I to move to Canada, apply for our documents such as SIN, healthcare, apply for child programs, and everything that could help us prove our intentions to move to Canada. So that's what we did. And I didn't have those documents. If you may think like I'm a citizen, why don't have them? It's because when I left Canada, I was like 6 or 7 years old. That's why I didn't have most of adult documents. And also at the time I was living in Quebec. And since I moved to another province, I needed to make documents for that specific province. And so, yeah, if you're in the middle of immigration and nothing is going as planned, I see you. You're not behind, you're not failing, you're just in the messy middle. This isn't the end of our Canada story. This is just a chapter.